Hey Enorê, I dynameshed the design for you and I'm going to retransfer it. In the meantime, I thought it might be good just to have a quick look at it in the ceramic printing software so that we can check out any areas that might have issues. So if we go layer by layer, I've put on 3 perimeter walls because there are a few overhangs and this will help reduce the chance of it drooping. So if we just go up layer by layer, I'm just checking on the angles, but that's looking okay. Like Fred mentioned, in areas where you've got like a steepish overhang, like here, and you see a lot of yellow coming through, those could be like areas where the clay is going to droop. This we might just about get away with, but this kind of area, this is really going to be problematic. You see it's really like hanging over and you can see a lot of the underlayer through it. If we look at that in ZBrush, let me just adjust the settings on the recording software. That area in ZBrush, I believe, is this area. So what you'd really want to do is maybe push this in a bit. So I would use like the flatten brush, and I would just like basically flatten that in to the surface, so something like this. So we just like avoid that big overhang. Dynamesh as you go, because obviously you can see like this is getting very thin here. So if we dynamesh it, we can then begin to smooth it in as well. But yeah, I think you're going to have to spend a bit of time just bringing this in a bit so it doesn't stick out quite so much. I'm just dynameshing again. Sometimes when you have thin areas, it will kind of fragment, so just if you just keep smoothing and then dynameshing, you'll be able to get rid of this kind of area here. Same like here, you see it's like really dipping in. I would say to print in ceramic, you're really going to just have to like reduce that, because the only other way would be to print it with infill, and I'll show you what that would look like. Let me just switch this off. Yeah, the only other option would be to print it with infill so that it could like support itself. So it would be something like this with an internal structure. But printing with infill on the ceramic printer, you're going to go from it being maybe like a 2 or 3 hour print hollow to being with infill, it could be like a 2-day print, which for the ceramic printer, it's just not very realistic. The chances of it failing are incredibly high. The amount of clay you'd use would be incredibly high. So printing this with an infill is not really an option, unless you took it a lot smaller, so maybe made it like 15 centimeters high or something. So I think the best thing to do is to print it hollow with 3 exterior walls, which will still take quite a while. Like even with 3 exterior walls, it's predicting a print time of 3 hours. But have a go at just like minimizing how much these hang over. So with this area, for example, I mean, what you could do is even just cut it off like here and just lose this bit that bulges out. So maybe a cut like, and if I just do it with masking just to show you, yeah, if you did a cut maybe like here, so just imagine everything grey would be cut away. Something like that would get rid of this whole area. And you've still kind of got the areas of interest with this, reserved. But I think cutting there would be a good way to resolve the issue. We can actually do that in the Prusa software. So if I go to solid mode, using the split tool. So maybe something like here. Let's go a little bit higher even. And let's slice that again. And then go up. It's all looking okay. A little bit of something here, but hopefully that would be alright. Again, a bit on this side, but could just maybe slow down the print a little bit when it gets to there. Carry on going up. It's a bit of overhang, but doesn't seem too much of an issue. Let's have a little look at what's happening at this point here. Okay, I think we just about get away with that. You might have a little bit of a loop, but you could probably just correct that by hand. And yeah, I mean, there's a few areas where things come out quite fast. Here could be an area of issue. What you can do is when it gets to there and it's printing, just support it by hand and let it go up a few layers and then just kind of hold it in place, and then if it gets enough support, you can then remove your hand and the print can continue. Other than that, okay, up here, again, a bit of an issue. You could resolve this by, in ZBrush, putting material coming up like this, so that there's more of a like gradual gradient. If we look at that in ZBrush, let's see where that is. Oh, okay, so that's here. If you just, for example, use the move brush, if you just made this so it was more of a like gradient closing over, as opposed to a dip, so maybe even smooth that over a bit. That would probably be okay. And just keep in mind, what we might even want to do is similar to the other piece. It could even be just to cut it here and have like a straight top. That's actually going to resolve all the issues of where it closes over. So if we actually had a kind of flattened off top like this, for example, you'd actually avoid the issues of where it closes over. And then you could always fill this bottom opening and or the top opening by hand with thread using a slab like you did before. So yeah, it's up to you. If you want to try and retain as much of the design as before, then you need to like push, you need to have a play around with this and a play around up here. Or if you're willing to crop it off at the bottom and crop it off at the top, then actually you don't really need to make any more changes. Just be aware that when it's printing, there's a few areas near the top where the noses are, where you'll probably have to kind of keep an eye on things and maybe even support it by hand. I hope I haven't blathered on too much, but yeah, the design's looking really great so far.